Friends and neighbors, how you doing? Well, we got that CR500 running. Made a few laps around the old yard with it yesterday afternoon. Uh, Nice runner. We did do some mild port work to try to get a little better idle quality before they hit, before power band, before it comes into the power band. We wanted more power in that area so the hit wasn't such a big surprise. They're a wild bike. Not going on right now, but it's slowed right down. My work slowed down. I'll tell you that right straight out, which is good for you. If I've got your saws, that's good for you. I think over the next 2 weeks, you're going to see quite a few saws built. Robert, if I don't get your saw, same with you, Luke, if I can't run that through the next 3 days, we're going to run them right here. I got, in the pasture, I've got some wood, but it's a muddy, muddy mess around here. Every time it starts drying out, it rains. So I can't get in where I need to get in. I got 3 places to cut, and I can't get into none of them right now. But that's that. The clutch still isn't here for Luke's Blue Thunder 66. Yeah, it's not here, but it's coming. It's delayed for whatever reason. I don't understand that, but that's what they told me. But it's on its way. So good news there. Orgon clutch. I want to get into something. We talked about doing a possibility of the world according to Ironhorse. Well, let's delve into that. It's really a story is what it is. And it's something I'd like to share with you. Because during bad times, we had good times. Let me explain something first. You guys have seen our little town of Canisteo, my hometown. That's the video, what it looks like, just a sleepy little town. We don't live in town, we live in the country. And in 1972, wasn't good years through there. Obviously, the energy crisis really kicked in 72 for us. And gas shortage, the odd even plates. You can get away gas here and there. And different areas had different rules, obviously. But what led into that for us here is we had a major, major flood. I mean, it was a big deal. I went into that. It happened, I believe it was in April. End April, sort of. But when the rains came, it wasn't nothing to worry about. Nobody got excited. It wasn't torrential. It was just a nice, easy, steady April rain, like normal. April showers bring May flowers. You already got through March. March generally is our worst month here, except for this month. This time it's not so bad, which is good for me. So we didn't get concerned, and it rained all day, and it rained all night, and it rained the next day. It never stopped, and it kept right on raining. Not that it appeared to be hard. Well, next thing you know, the water's rising. The river comes up. All the snow melt that was there, because we had some snow up in the upper hills, came with it. So you take that foot and a half of snow that's on the hills, combine it with all of our rain, and we're in a major watershed. Okay? Nothing much changes in your little world. It doesn't. You do things different. This is what this is really all about for us. Because our county is just, there's no money there. Never has been. There's enough to live. You survive. But any place like that where there isn't money in big factories and all kinds of industry or whatever, it also makes a nice place to live because nothing's changed in 75 years that I know of. Not much, anyway. It's the same. You see pictures from way back to now. It's the same. There's a new house here. That old house is gone. New barn here. The old barn's gone. But nothing big. So with all this rain, as an 11-year-old child, I thought it was kind of fun when all of a sudden something you never could do before you could swim in the ditch. Right along the road. Boy, some of them ditches were pretty big. So you could swim in them. It was a little cold, but swimming around here in the summer for kids, that water is cold anyway, even though it's hot out. That water's cold. You gotta get used to it, you know. Any you in the north. Any place that snows, the water's cold. So it got right down where people were getting real panicky, and nobody really was prepared like you would see normally. The one thing I will tell you is about not all of them, but most houses had at least a wood stove. Probably a third of them still had the old cook stove. We had cook stove, you know. And in fact, we still have a cook stove. I just don't have it in the house, but don't take long to carry it in if we need it. So, with the water rising, Dad got this bright idea to take his 1967 Chevy 3/4 ton truck, his work truck. He's a contractor up in Rochester. He drove a long ways. And he's going to go to town. So he asked if I wanted to come along and help carry groceries. And I said, sure. Well, different people said, well, if you get uptown, if somebody gets uptown, and it's a country community here, you know, I need this or that. So there was about 10 different people said something to Dad, and he said, okay, I'll see what I can do. So we get going to town, and we got a little place up the way called the Narrows. What it is, it's a rock cut. You kind of go up over it, and then it comes down onto the flat of the river bottom. And there was water, a whole wall of water. Okay, you're right next to you is a hill, and then to the left of you was all river flats, and then the river. Well, that river was high. So there was considerable water. Well, Dad wasn't sure about all that, and he looked at me and he says, I think we got a problem, but we better try it. He says, we can at least walk home if we can't get out of this. It was not flowing water. It's just, it happened to be high is all. You know, against the hill, it doesn't flow. It's over at the other hill. It flows hard. You don't want to be there. So he put a piece of roll roof on the head of the radiator of this 67 Chevy with a 6-cylinder, and had the old Muncie truck 4-speed. Boy, they were a nice transmission, weren't they? Yeah, you guys know. And he took the fan belt off. Now on that 6-cylinder, the fan belt ran the fan and the alternator. So he did that, and so the alternator wasn't charging. Well, he kind of creaked right along, second gear, and going probably 10 mile an hour at best. Well, that wall of water come right up over that hood and halfway up the windshield, and it just kind of motorboat off. And I looked to my side glass, and it was running down the side of that. And I'm looking out to the bank next to the hill, and the water's rolling up. Boy, it reminded me of being in a motorboat. Now, I was a kid that's always full of questions. I want to know how come things were the way they were, and how things, I wanted to know why. Yep, I was that kid. I was the one that had full of questions. Daddy, what about this? Daddy, what about that? And I was blabbering right along, being an 11-year-old. We got going in that water. I shut right up. Old Dad knew then I was scared. So we get to Canisteel, our little sleepy little town. The only grocery store at the time in the town that was open was a fairly new one. There was 3 stores at that time, but ones in the center of town were closed because the water was about 6 inches. Down on Main Street there where the red light is, where we sat in that video, my hometown, there's about 6 inches of water right there. And so stores were closed. Well, we pulled into this big grocery store, and Dad knew the man. And there's only already in the store about 2-3 inches of water. It came over the dikes, and everybody knew there's trouble. And the lights were flickering. So, talked to the store owner. He says, Harvey, my dad's name is Harvey, I'm a junior. He says, it's like this. He says, we're going to be without power. He says, we're going to lose a lot of groceries. We're going to have a flood. He says, we don't know how big. He says, I'll tell you, he says, what are you stocking up for, just you? Or Dad says, no, he says, I want enough to try to help my neighbors out. And, He says, well, he says, I'll tell you what, you give me $100 bill and we'll fill your truck. Dad says, well, that's the deal. He just wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to be just for us. Dad said, no, we ain't that way. So we fill this truck. A $100 bill in 1972 was actually a lot of money. It really was. And meat, all the meat that was left. Everybody in town got what they wanted, apparently, and whatever was left, put in the truck, canned goods, flour, salt, sugar, cornmeal, baking powder, yeast, anything that was perishable, anything that, it wasn't going to be a problem. He said all the canned goods, he says labels are going to come off because we're going to get, and it did, the water got quite deep in the store. And so, now this wasn't just full to the bed, it was an 8-foot bed. It was full of the top of the ladder racks. This truck was heavy. So we get going home, and at the top of the Narrows, we seen this dairy truck, about the size of a modern beer truck. And there was a mudslide, and he got caught in it. It slid and captured him. But because of that truck being where it was, it shoved him halfway over the center line. We were able to get around him. Well, Dad stopped, talked to him, and he says, what do you, can you help me out? I need to get back to Hornell. Dad says, you're not going to get to Hornell. He says the water was another 8-10 inches deep in 2 hours coming back through. He says, there's no way we're going to make it again. Of course, when you get out of the water, you got to throw the fan belt back on, which he did. Dad says, well, I'll help you. Let me get this truck unloaded. He said, we got perishables. So we went around our little country hamlet and passed out all the groceries we could, as even as we could. Said, well, share with your neighbors. Barter system took over then. Yeah. Now, at my age, I didn't see anything wrong with this. We'd had hard times before. It was nothing new. And, that same day, our electric went out. Well, we run 2 big freezers, a small freezer, and the freezer that was in the refrigerator. No big deal. Dad says, well, I ain't got time to worry about it right now. The food will be good for them freezers quite a while. Went up to rescue that man. He says, we can't get to Hornell. Can you get me up on the top of the hill, so-and-so? He says, I got relation there and stay with them. And he says, is your phone still working? Dad says, at last I knew it was. Well, he says, like this. He says, I got all kinds of ice cream and butter, milk, eggs, all this on this truck. He says, we might just if you got people that can use this, he says, we might as well dole it out. Well, he'd already made 3/4 of his delivery, so it was really one big pickup load. What do you do with 150 gallons of ice cream when the electric's out? You got happy kids. We ate it. Everybody in town got more ice cream than they ever in our little hamlet. Never seen that coming. Tell you, ice cream back then wasn't a commodity. That was a luxury item that a lot of people didn't get. So when you got to be as a young kid, and there were about 60 of us that was hellions, you got to eat that much ice cream. You sit right down with a frickin' half-gallon ice cream, and that's yours? Oh, yeah. Of course, it ain't the best thing to do, but we did it. And ice cream is gone. So Dad gets the guy up on the hill. He thanks him. They exchange information, phone numbers. And the phone was out up there where he went, but we still had a phone. We called his people, and they'd already went to another town. So it worked out. There was somebody there, but they were getting ready to leave, go join the rest of the family. So the message got through that he was safe. And, the next thing you know, Dad starts a generator. That's how we run our electric. Now, my grandparents lived across the way on my mom's side, and they didn't have a generator. Well, my grandparents went through the Depression. They had all kinds of canned goods like we did, but all that meat. Grandma starts washing canning jars, fired up the old home comfort cook stove, started canning meat. She canned hot dogs. You want to know what the worst thing to look at is when you can hot dogs? Oh, you don't think you want to? Oh my God, they're delicious. They're really good. They were fantastic. She canned everything. She did. Well, we had enough fuel to go about 4 or 5 days, and Dad would run the generator for a period to keep the food good. And finally, he says, well, we're down to just a few days worth of gas. He says, we better quit. So we canned all our meat. Now, I'm going to tell you what, it got warm, and you seen all bunch of wood stoves fired up. You knew everybody's canning. They were canning what meat was that they got. Well, the one advantage is on the farm, we raised a lot of potatoes. So we had crap loads of potatoes. We helped people. And there was other people the same way. They was in a position to be able to say, well, I got this or this. And we just kind of helped each other. But I'm going to tell you, when you live in these little country communities, they're cliquish. This one group of families don't get along with this group of families, and these other two don't like that one, and this guy over here, he stays to himself because he don't like nobody. During these crises as a child that I've seen, like this one, everybody dropped the crap, and they started pitching in, worked together. You know what? Yeah, we didn't have electric for, 6 weeks? Did bother us. The one thing that was kind of nice, we didn't have a deep well, but Dad had the pump from the old barn, the old well, and it was a pitcher pump. And he actually mounted that, and it worked. We got a little driving rod, a little plunger, and he got that in that well, so we had water. We had the only well around that was running. There was a lot of houses with spring water, but they were contaminated, We have a lot of springs along the hill, up high enough where you got 40-something pounds of pressure, and you couldn't drink spring water because of the runoff, and a lot of the wells was contaminated too, because water had run into them, and ours wasn't. Ours was in a proper pump house, still is, we don't live on the old homestead. My brother does, but it's proper. And so we'd pump water. I tell you what, Rick, that first few hours pumping water for people, I didn't mind after that. It sucked. They had to pump their own dang water, as far as I'm concerned. And that's what everybody did. Just go get it. Now, we had about 50 milk cans. And they were clean cans. So we started putting water in milk cans, and people trading milk cans around. Everybody took each other. You know what? We had more darn picnics, and there was an old schoolhouse down in town and where I live here, and everybody got together. We had more picnics and one thing or other. During that time period when things was crap, we really enjoyed ourselves. It was like a break from life. It was a reset. It's what it was. It was an absolute reset. As a kid, I didn't see it. As an adult, I look back on it and I could see it. Them families didn't used to get along, could at least tolerate each other. There wasn't no fist fights over the fence, And I don't know why people are that way, but, I brought the good out in everybody. I don't remember of any real looting or anything in Hornell or Canisteo, either one. There may have been, but I don't think so. The people that belong here, live here all their life, understand each other, and they understand their ways. And we live old ways, and we still do. I think now people would worry more about, oh, gee, my internet's out, my cable's out, I don't know what I'm going to do. Read a book. That nothing changed for us. We didn't have TV anyway. We read. We told stories. Do you know how many stories my grandfathers and father and all my families told me? It's ridiculous. I will never be able to tell all my stories, let alone all theirs, because that's what we did. We sat around and we told stories. And that was just the way it was. And so everybody could tell a good story. Now the thing is, there was a lot of yarns I didn't believe growing up, but they were still good stories, But the people that didn't stay level-headed got in a lot of trouble during this flood. And I'll tell you, I'm not going to tell their names or the town they were in because I don't want to bring up bad memories for this family. But it was a member of Barb's family and his daughter were up above the dam. The dam overflowed. It really did. They couldn't control it. They just had to dump the water out, and that made it worse. It was horrible the way the whole thing worked out. Well, he lived in an upstairs apartment above a gas station with his family. It was a big, nice place, from what I understand. And the water started receding from the dam, raising up into the town that was out of the dam. And they were getting quite concerned. And it was quite fast running water through that little town. Well, he decided, his wife wasn't there, but his daughter and him was. And he decided the best thing he could do is get his daughter in a rowboat and get out of there. And he had a plan. But if he would have sat still, it would have been fine. He was in an upstairs it was bigger than most houses, honestly. I know exactly where it was. That ain't what he did. He panicked. It cost him his life. It cost him his daughter's life. They got in that rowboat. They're trying to row where they're going. He got into the current. And they didn't make it. And to this day, he's in that dam somewhere. And every time Barb goes up there to the dam, she looks out there and she gets quiet moments. She knows. And I understand that. Level-headeds are great. Level-headed is great. But for us kids, it was an adventure. We didn't have to go to school. No, we didn't. We didn't have to go to school. It didn't that we didn't like school. It took, you know what it did? It took about 3 days to miss your schoolmates. This kind of sucks. I can't wait to get back to school. Boy, that first 3 days, you just, like I said, we were hellions, We just having fun. But I'm going to tell you something that spooked me. When that water started rising, I went over on our little river, Canasteel River, and I was walking across the bridge. It's out here in our own little town. And I'm watching this river, and there's other kids. That river's high. We shouldn't have been there on that bridge. I'm going to tell you that right now. And this was kind of a bad thing. We was watching things that was going under the bridge. It was a foot from hitting the bridge at that time. And some things would kind of bump up against the bridge, and it'd make it shake. It was an old bridge. And that was all well and good. Boy, you could see boats. You could see pieces of that or, just styrofoam. Where'd all the styrofoam come from? Great big pieces of styrofoam come down occasionally. But I'll tell you what got us. And I never found out where they came from either. We have cemeteries around here that are unknown and unmarked. Family cemeteries. All of a sudden, these caskets started going by. Some of them was closed, some of them was upside down, some of them lids was up. And I'll never forget this. There's this one guy had a big smile on his face and one arm out like that. Looks like he was paddling, wearing a black suit with tails, 1880s probably. And there was a young woman, looked like she was wearing a wedding dress. And I'll tell you what, when them caskets started floating down that river, no, we beat feet. Gone. We didn't like it. We don't know where they came from. We don't know where they were going, but we weren't going to be part of none of that. Well, it was a good thing we got off that bridge. Everything does happen for a reason, folks. It wasn't 5 minutes after we got up. We just spent all darn day on that bridge, waited till the water was up to our frickin' knees before we left, because we was dumb. We didn't know. And About 5 minutes after that, this great big tree came down through the river rapidly. This water was flowing crazy fast. More water than I'd ever seen in my life. And it hit the far side abutment, or bridge. The bridge was two pieces at a center abutment. And it turned that right around. That's where we were, because that's where the most stuff was coming. The other side was slow running water. It wasn't near as interesting. And so that probably saved a bunch of us from some pretty serious grief. It really did. Well, things got calmed down. We adapted and overcame and went on with our lives best we could. Nobody went anywhere. The roads were all closed. It was a national emergency, well, a regional anyway is what it was. The town of Corning, there's videos still on the internet of them having motorboats and rowboats that they're actually even with the red lights. Yeah, they're pick the red light up, and go underneath it. There was no power nowhere, so they could do that. It was just amazing to me how bad Corning got hit. Look that up if you want. Corning, New York, flood of '72. Look at, and you can see our region too. I'm sure it's all over the internet. And but after that all got done, now we like fishing. You know that, right? Mm-hmm. Well, back then we had double sets of railroad tracks, and there was water for weeks in the middle of them tracks, and it was fairly deep. Boy, I tell you what, it ruined the fishing terribly that year in the river. But what we found out, you go down through there and you see fishes everywhere. They were big fishes. We's grabbing fishes. Oh my goodness sakes. A lot of fish, we'd get back, carry them over and put them in the water. And there was other fishes, like the brooks and the browns. We seen rainbow trout. Rainbows. They were big. Oh, that's some good eating. Mm-hmm. Yeah, anytime a kid can go pick up a freaking monster fish that he can't hardly carry, you could, but yeah, you wanted that fish. But we helped awful bunches of fish get back in the river, and I tell you what, fish dinners were good back then. Yes, sir, they were. But we got through all that. And it changed the way we looked at each other as a country community. It changed the way people reacted in the towns with each other. And I'll tell you what it did. It changed it permanently. Until, now the older people that are gone, our parents and stuff, 'cause I'm 59, so my parents were much older than me, and they're gone, been gone for years. And, but for the longest time, everybody that was alive remembered. And they didn't think a thing about helping. And it's still pretty much that way for the people that are born and raised around this region. They'll help each other. They really do. And it's a wonderful thing. I've been places in the world, it's not that way. I've been in places in this U.S. that it's not that way. People don't want to look at each other. They've lived next to each other for 10 years and don't even know the man's or woman's name. Nope. That's not my living. I want to know who I'm dealing with and what I'm going to deal with when I'm there. That's what I want to know. Just like I got it. My life, and perfect. But guess what? We'll get through anything together. I want to thank all you subscribers. I guess you noticed that, we got commercials now. I tried to put that off as long as I could, but now we got commercials. There ain't much money in that, but we're a little over 10,000. This isn't my channel. It's all of ours channel. Let's share it. Keep the comments coming. Keep them coming. I love your comments. That is my time. That's where I can share the 1/10,000ths of your ownership with me together, is reading them comments. I love you all. Take care of each other. Sometimes it is important. Okay? Back to the saws next. We've canned some videos. You're going to need to see them. You really are. And I think tomorrow I got a new video I want to show. I have an idea of what I want. But I'm going to show you something first. I'll show you what's left. That's my 85 Mako 500. Yeah, there's still the 490. This one's water cooled. First year of it. Front brakes. That's what I got to do with that one. And then on my personal time, I got my KTM 250. It's an ESX, my KTM is. It's a 95. I love the bike. It's righteous. Okay, stay safe. Be good, be kind. I know. But the words fit, don't they? Yes, they do. Goodbye.